Okay, so in this video, we're going to be working with document referencing, and that includes footnotes and endnotes and indexing, and also the good old table of contents. So we're going to start out first of all with our footnotes and endnotes. Now, a lot of people don't really realize that they have a tool such as this. If you've ever read books or articles where you'll be reading along and all of a sudden you'll see like the little elevated in superscript like the number 1, and then when you look at that number 1, then you look at the bottom of the page, it'll say number 1 and it'll have like a description of that item. So it's almost like you might have mentioned something up here, but to tell you in more detail what that is, then you can have at the bottom of the page here a description of what that is, or a reference to how you came up with that or where it came from, that kind of thing. So it saves the reader from having to read through just, all kinds of detail about stuff. It's like, they can either take it for what it is, and if they're sitting there saying, oh, I don't, where'd they come up with that? Well, maybe you'll have like a footnote there that will show down here at the bottom an explanation for that. And the only difference between footnotes and endnotes is an endnote has all of those descriptions at the end of the document. All right, so instead of putting, whatever referencing you've got on this page at the bottom of that page, it'll actually be at the end of the document. So two different ways you can do it. All right, so let's start out with our first one here. And let's just say for this one, we've got blah, 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 and then all of a sudden it says professionally produced. Okay, it's like, well, professionally produced, do you want maybe a little reference to that, right? So we go right to the end of it there. Then we go over to the references tab, and there you'll see something called footnote here. So, or insert footnote, I'm sorry. This one right here. So you click that, all right? And let me just show you what happened here. So let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see this better here. So what you end up seeing is a number 1 getting thrown there, right? And then down here at the bottom of the page, little line. This isn't actually in the footer area. So this does not take up any. Well, I misspoke. It's just above the footer. Okay, so it's in this area here. So what's really kind of interesting about this is that regardless of how many you put in here, it always is able to fit the description for the ones that are on here at the bottom of the page. All right. This is something that, before we had word processing, this was an art to try to make sure that you had just enough lineage down here at the bottom to fit all of your referencing that you had on that particular page. I mean, it was quite, like I said, it's quite an art. But anyway, so when you're down there, you would just end up putting in blah, 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 whatever that reference is, and kind of go from there. Because you do that, all right? And then you go down, go back up there again. So there was your first one, okay? So let's say I put my next one here, right next to Word here, save time in Word, okay? You want to reference that for some reason, right? So then we go back into References. We click on to Insert Footnote. Now that puts the number 2 in there, right? And then you'll see the number 2 down here. Go ahead and you type in what that one is. And it can be multi-line, but, do as much as you need to put in there. Okay, so now we've got that second one in there. Now, what you can do next is you can put another one somewhere between them. So here's our first one, right? Here's our second one. But let's say I want to put another one after document. Okay, so I go there, go back to References, insert a footnote. It actually makes that one number 2. And the one that was number 2 becomes now number 3, see? But again, there's some more information we put on that. But you can just go on and on with this. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so I think this is the way to go with footnotes over endnotes. But I'm going to show you now how to do the endnote, just so you know how that works. So what I'll do is I'll just go down here, and this will be kind of clear from there, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to go maybe right after the word change. Okay, so I click there, and I type in, oh, I don't type anything. Oh, sorry. I go there, and then I go back into references, and then I click on to insert endnote. See? So I click onto that, and now that takes me all the way down to the very last page at the very bottom of it, right? So there's our last page in the document. I put my note in there, go as long-winded as I want to go, and then I can go back. I'll just hit Control Home to get back to the beginning here. So there that one is, and let me just put that in there so now you can see that footnote, or that end note, all right? And I'll do it one more time here. I'll go here to the end of help, all right? Go over here, click on the insert end note. Boom, it puts that one in there. And then I can put this in there like that. And that's it. So that is how we do our footnotes and our end notes. So your preference as to which one you want to go with, they're both equally as good. I prefer the footnote because I like to see it right at the very bottom of the page. Now this next thing we're going to talk about is something called indexing. And indexing allows you to take all of the, let's say, common terms throughout the document, whether it be a single word or a phrase, and it will then, at the end of the document, put in there all of the pages that that particular word or words, like a phrase, is referenced throughout the document. So, for instance, we have the word video, many times throughout the document. I can index the word video, and then what will happen is you'll see at the end of the document, almost looking like a table of contents, you'll see the word video, and then you'll see to the right of it all of the pages that the word video ends up being on, as referenced. So let's go ahead and we're going to take this individual word, video, and we're going to index that, okay? So we click onto that, and then of course in the reference tab, and then we have something here called mark entry for the index, see? So you click onto that. So what will happen is when we go to generate the index later on, this is going to be what it's used to generate it with, okay? So if you wanted to change it up a little bit, you wanted to say the video or videos or something like that, you could change that. It's up to you. So that's just what it's going to be marked as in the index, that's all. You could call this XYZ, and we'll still then give all the pages for video, still the same, even though it's called XYZ. Anyway, we'll leave that alone. But I also want the page number to be bold and italic, all right? And I want to not only mark this one, but all of the other occurrences of the video. So wherever video occurs, I want all of those to be marked, okay? So I'm going to click on the mark all, just like that. All right, then I'll just close this up for now. What happens too is the program kind of goes into this the coded view. That's usually where, when you go over to here to home and you hit that little backward P, it shows you where your paragraphs are. It shows you how many spaces you've got between your words, things like that. And you could go back and turn that off, but it's going to turn back on again the next time that you do another one here. So, but I'll just show you how that works. I'll just turn that off. Now we're back to square one again. Now, there's no marking on here. You don't see anything on there, other than the fact, unless you were to go back into the switch hide there, then you can actually see the coding in there, right? Okay. Now we've got another entry here that we want to put in. It's going to be Smart Art Graphics. So we want to select that, right? Then we'll go back to our references. We'll tell it that we want to mark the entry. So click onto that. There it is there. Call it whatever you want. I would suggest just leave it. We're going to make it bold and italic. And I want to mark all the occurrences, and that's it. All right, so now I'll close that up. And I'll kind of scroll through a little bit and see if I can find some other things I want to put in there. So here's another one. I want to do themes and styles. I want to do that one. So I'm going to select themes and styles, just like that. I'm going to go back into mark entry. There's my themes and styles. Again, bold, italic, and then mark all. Okay, so I'm going to do one more here. And this one's going to be, let's see, we'll find a page. Okay, online video. Okay, I'm going to select that. And I only want to mark that one. Okay, so I'm going to go back into references, go back to mark entry. And we'll do that one. And I'm going to do my bold and italic, but I'm only going to mark it. So only that one gets marked, not all of those. All right, that's throughout the document. So I hit mark. There we go. I'll close it. Okay, so now we're going to be ready to create the index. And usually the indexes are placed at the end of the document. So I'm going to first of all go back to home and turn off the coded thing there. And then I'm going to do a control end, and that will take me to the end of the document, all right, where I've got my endnotes there, but don't worry about those. Now, what you'll do is usually when you're doing this, we'll go maybe to a different page. You know, maybe the very last page. You know, after this end mark or endnotes. I'm sorry. So I'll just go to the end here, hit my control enter. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and hit the references. All right, and then over here we have insert index. So we click onto that. Okay, so this is where you can actually go in there and kind of tell how you want it to look like. Right now, if you were to hit OK, this is pretty much the kind of look that you'd have. Now, we have other ones in here. We've got like the classic look, kind of does the little alphabet letter there at the top for the index. So you'd have like A, and then you'd have B, and so forth, kind of like that. Or you can go with the fancy look. Well, whatever you want. I'm just going to go with the classic. All right. So we got that one in there. And then you can also tell it how many columns you want. Now it's going to give us 2 columns by default. We really don't have that much in there. I think what I'll do is I'll just do 1 column. All right. You can also right align the page numbers. So you see these are the page numbers here. You can actually click onto that and put them all the way over there. But the usual look of it is to just have a comma, you know, after the word or phrase, and then all the different page numbers. So that looks good. And then all we have to do then is just go back down here, hit OK, and there you go. Pretty wild. Now, if maybe you want to go maybe with a 2-column one, we can just click back on here, all right? Go back up here and hit Insert Index again, and then specify that we want 2 columns, hit OK, and then replace the index, OK, and there you go on that one. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the beginning here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to work with the, wrong way there. We're going to work with the table of contents feature. This is probably the most misunderstood feature to use. A lot of people fail at using it because there's a number of different things that go into it. I think a lot of you are familiar with the table of contents. It's usually something that you find at the beginning of a magazine or book or report, and it shows different headings along with the page numbering, or page number that those headings appear on. It's a great way of letting the reader know what to expect in the document, and also to be able to jump to that particular page on a subject heading that is of interest to them. When we go to generate this, it'll be usually towards the beginning of the document. Now, what you're going to see, I'm going to kind of scroll through the document here a little bit. You're going to see I've got various headings and subheadings. I've got like the Hawaiian Territory, and then I've got Valley Island, Kona Coffee, and then I've got the Illinois Territory and a number of things in there. So I've got some headings and subheadings. And the thing is I want to create the table of contents off of those. All right, so to kind of start doing this, what we're going to do then is we're going to select this first one here, which is going to be Hawaiian Territory. Now we want that, when we go to look at the table of contents later on, we want that to be kind of a larger heading, or I shouldn't say large, but it's going to be like the main heading. And then we're going to have the Valley Island and then Kona Coffee to be right underneath it, kind of indented a little bit as well. But all those entries will, if you you'll see like these dots going across the page, and then you'll see then what page number these are all on. So we're basically just kind of referencing each of these headings and be able to show or display on the table of contents where they're located in the document. Now when we reference this, and this is the trick, we have to pretty much format them as a heading, either like as a heading 1 or heading 2. So we have different styles in here already. You can kind of see we've got like the heading 1 style, the heading 2 style, and there's more too, but we got the first two that we're going to be using. So in order to make this happen, what we'll do is we'll select Hawaiian Territory. We'll then go back into References. We'll go to the Add Text, and we'll click on to Level 1. So there it is, and that puts that one there for us, right? Now this is going to be a sub of that one, so we select the text, go back to Add Text again, and this is going to be a Level 2. All right, and there we go on that one. All right, so those are both in there. And then we'll do this one as well. This is also going to be a Level 2 underneath Hawaiian Territory, right? So we'll go here and we'll click on to Level 2 for that one. All right. Now we're over here in Illinois, so we select that. Go back to add it. That's going to be Level 1. And then we're going to have Windy City. That'll be a Level 2. And then the town of Metropolis. We actually have a metropolis in Illinois. So we select that, and we go ahead and click on to add, and that's also going to be a Level 2. All right, there we go. All right, now we got Florida. All right, so Florida is going to be at a Level 1. And then we'll have Tampa Bay. That'll be at a Level 2. And so will Key West be at a Level 2. Okay, so it's just a matter of just going through this. We don't have too many to go here, so just hang in there. So now here's the California Quake Zone. That'll be Level 1. And then way to San Jose, that's going to be a Level 2. Long Beach will also be a Level 2. And now we're over in Texas. Level 1. Hello, Houston. Level 2, and I think that's the only thing we had in that one. Okay, so then we're going to go to Montana, and we will make that a Level 1. And then on this next one here, that's going to be a Level 2, and so will that one as well. Okay, then we have the Georgia Peach. Again, we'll make that Level 1. And then we'll have Hotlanta as Level 2. And Alpha Beta Retta, Level 2. Okay. Washington Apple Planters. All right, so we got that Level 1. Johnny Appleseed, Level 2. And there she blows as Level 2 as well. Looking for whales. All right. And I think that's it. So there we go. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. Now I'd like to generate the table of contents at the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to here. I'm going to go to Insert, Pages, and put a blank page in there. Okay, so now that'll be there. All right. So I'll click onto that. Now we'll go back to References, and here's our table of contents, and they give us a number of different ways that we can generate it. These are different templates that are in there. We'll go with this one here. So I'll click onto that, and there we go. We didn't want that one. I just thought about that one. That's if you wanted to just generate that table, and then you'd go in there and you'd actually make the entries yourself. Kind of a tedious process. We don't want to do that. I wasn't thinking when I did that. So I'm going to go back to table of contents. Sorry about that. And over here, I'm going to tell it I want to do the automatic table too. That's going to be this one right here. Click it, and there we go. And look at that, huh? Now you'll notice that we didn't get the little trailing like ellipse of dots going across here, and that sometimes happens. So what you got to do in that case is just be somewhere in here, go back into table of contents, go down to where it says custom table of contents, and what you do is you make sure that the check mark is in here for the right align, but then the other thing, which are the page numbers here, but you also want to make sure that this is set for the dots. All right, so it shows the dots being here, but only because you went into the custom and they were set that way. But normally, when it first got generated, it had that. All right, but now it has this, which are the dot leaders. And at that point, then what you do is just go ahead and then hit OK, and then you hit yes. I want to replace the original contents there, and now we've got the dot leaders. And that's about as easy as it gets. So later on, if you maybe add a new item in here, let's say I'll just put something over here. I'll put in here, chip was here. That'll be one of my headings for that, okay. I go back there and highlight that, go back and tell it to add text, tell it I want that at the first level. There it goes. And now you look back here, you don't see it in here yet, right? So what you do is you click on here and you tell it that you want to update your table. You click onto that. It says update the page numbers only. Well, no, I added a new item, so I need to go beyond that. I want to update the entire table. So then I hit OK, and there it goes. There's Chip was here. Now you'll notice how in this table of contents, the thing I just put in there is not bolded, but all these other ones are bold, and that is a little, maybe a little bit too thick. The reason why that's happening is because I had made all of the headings here, they were bold. Not only did the style get applied to like the heading 1 or heading 2 style, but also did the formatting that was in there, and we just go back to the home here, and so what happened was this ended up being bolded, and therefore then this came out bold. Now you can fix it pretty quick. I mean, I think like the easiest way to do it would be just to kind of select this whole area here like that, and then go over here and hit the bold, and hit the bold again. That kind of turns off the bold. All right, and it will stay unbolded until you go back in there and update the table, and whichever way you do it, it'll end up giving you the bold again. But at least you can temporarily turn that off, print out the document, and be done with it, right? Now you can change it up even more by changing how you want each of the levels to look. Like level 1 we can make it so where it maybe has a background shading to it a little bit, right? And then level 2 is not bolded, but rather it's maybe italic or something like that, all right? And maybe a little bit smaller as well. So we can do things like that as well. Now, how can we do that? Well, what we do is we go back into the table of contents, all right? We go down here to custom, all right? And we go down here to modify. So you tell it here on the level 1, on the TOC level 1, which would be like where Montana is, and then TOC level 2 would be the Hello Houston or whatever. So on this one here, you can say, well, I want to modify the way that looks out here. So you can click on to modify. Then I would go out here to format, and I would tell it, then I go over here to border, and I can say that I want maybe a border at the top and bottom. I can just kind of click right there and get to a very thin border. I can go in here and change it up, but I'll just do with that. But mainly what I want to do is go here to the shading, right, and tell it that I want to fill it with, let's say, maybe a very light, light gray, something like that, all right? And that's going to apply it to the paragraph, which is what these are. Hit OK. That's how it's going to look. And then I can hit OK again, and that takes care of that first level, all right? And then I'll go to the second level, all right? And I'll say I want to modify that. And in this situation, I want to make it italic, something like that. That's all I'll do to it. And then I'll hit OK. And I think, too, let me just go back to level 1 here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'll make it maybe a 12 point, so a little bit larger, All right. Then I'll hit OK. Hit OK. And then hit OK. There we go. And then I want to replace. And there it goes. That's pretty wild looking. Let me get out of there so you can see it. How about that one, huh? So a lot of different things you can do with that. Now the bolding that's still in there is only because of the fact that I had bolded each one of these headings ahead of time before I applied the style that got picked up on. So what I can do, really the easiest way here would be to start, I'll just start from here. I'll do a Control Shift End, and then I'll hit bold, and then I'll hit bold again, and that will turn off the bold on everything. So nothing now will have the bold. So I'll get back to the top here. You can see how that's now not bolded. All right, then I can go back to here, all right, hit the Update Table, entire table, hit OK, and there we go. And that's it. So hopefully this is something that you guys could use. I think it's a great little tool here for referencing your document, along with the other ones that we talked about. So I appreciate you watching the video. Take care.